Hi, friends. This is Wendy Harrop, and welcome to the Say Yes to Yourself podcast. On the Say Yes to Yourself podcast, you'll hear stories from women just like us who are adding the practice of saying yes in their daily lives in big and small ways, and as a result, are experiencing the truth that everybody wins when you say yes to yourself. Saying yes to yourself is a graceful unfolding, an intentional becoming of the very best version of you. It is my hope that in these conversations, we are able to find our truth and be inspired and empowered to live our very best lives. I'm so excited to go on this journey with you, and I look forward to finding a bit of our own story in each other's. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to have you here. I'm really looking forward to introducing you to today's guest. And I have to tell you a couple of other things I'm super excited about. I am just 2 weeks away from heading to France for the month with Amelia, and we are so excited. We've started pulling our outfits out and they're hanging on the rack, and we just have so much to look forward to. And I also spent a really glorious morning in the office of the architect that is putting plans together for the barn renovation and some other fabulous things. And it's all just super, super dreamy. It's in the very preliminary stages. We're going to be doing fundraising and grant writing and all of that good stuff. But I just like you to know what's going on over here and what is filling my heart with joy. And one of the things that very much fills my heart with joy is this podcast and this glorious, lovely woman whom you will get to meet today. So Lindsay Burgess lives in town. She is a photographer, and I learned in our conversation that she has not been doing this very long, and she's so good at it. So she often does photo shoots here at the Phineas Wright House. So I get to see her work her magic and then see the beautiful results on the other side of it. And she's taken some fun pictures of me. Oh, in fact, she took the photo that is the cover art for this podcast. So she is a gem. I cannot wait for you to get to know her a bit. A little about her formal bio. Lindsay is a mother to 2 toddler girls. She's a marketer with over a decade of experience, and she's a photographer residing in Bolton, Massachusetts. As a lover of stories, Lindsay brought that passion to her corporate life in marketing, and more recently has explored photography as a storytelling outlet. Capturing her children in candid, authentic moments in varying stages of childhood brings her the most joy. She is such an absolute delight. I cannot wait for you to get to know her, follow her work, and if you're local, have her shoot some wonderful, gorgeous photos of you and your beautiful family. So without further ado, please sit back and enjoy this conversation with my friend, Lindsay Burgess. Sweet Lindsay Burgess, I am so happy to see your gorgeous face and have this beautiful conversation. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. So we can start our conversation the way I like to start most of these, and that is by asking, how are you saying yes to yourself in this season?
What a season it is. What a season it is right now. And oftentimes, I feel like I have to remind myself to say yes to myself. So it's that constant proactive nature of saying, I can do this for myself. It is okay. And allowing myself to do things, to be honest with you, because, I mentioned, what a season it is, but very much right now, like a lot of my life is wrapped up in motherhood. I have two daughters, 4 and 2, which are both lovely, magical ages, but it's all consuming, right? So, as I'm a mom 4 years now, I've as with many other moms, like we tend to like lose ourselves a little bit, right? And making that time for ourselves, and they say once you become a mom, you're no longer that person you were before you became a mom, but it's important to remember her and remember who she is, and allow yourself to continue to be yourself. So very much of me being able to say yes to myself and doing like creative projects on the side, for example, come from a place of constant work within myself to allow myself to say yes.
Yeah, for sure. How are you? That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm really fascinated with that concept of remembering yourself. So how are you incorporating that? In what ways do you remember yourself so that you don't get lost?
Yeah. And I mean, that's constant work and effort that I put in every day. And to be completely honest with you, my youngest is 2. And I've said this to my friends who are going through, postpartum issues and things like that. But I don't feel like I was truly back to my normal self until my youngest daughter hit her 2-year mark. Mentally, physically, different story, right? That's a whole different ballgame. But, I feel like I haven't been able to allow myself to even cross that line of what can I do for myself, so I'm constantly trying to remember that, I was a person before I had kids. I don't think that person necessarily exists anymore, and that's okay, because actually I like who I am better now.
Right.
And it's a lot more work, and it's a lot more self-reflection, and it's a mental jumping jacks for sure on a constant basis. But so, I don't think I answered your question directly, but I think I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right.
The short answer of it.
No, I think it's so great. And I love our friendship and our conversations, because in some ways we are close to each other. Your oldest is 4 and my daughter is 9. So we could technically be 5 years apart. And in reality, I could be your mother. So for sure. Because I mean, how old are you? Are you 12? How old are you?
I just turned 36.
Yeah. So see, so I could absolutely be your mother. And I love so many things about our conversations, because for a very long time, it's not that I lost myself, but I don't know if I ever knew myself. I just became a person that fit really well with whatever people I was around. So in my self-discovery that has really been super intentional in the past few years, the people that I've met since that time, and when I see parts of myself in them, it's easier for me to identify. So when you message me and say, oh, I would love to go to the white party, or I would love to go to a peony workshop, and I say, then come. You live down the street. It's not like my friends in California that want to come to those things. It's a little harder. And to be able to encourage you from the other side, and to say when you take care of yourself, what you're modeling for your daughters speaks so much louder than what being there for every single bath time can say.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a constant struggle, and you have to constantly have that on, right? To protect yourself and to protect those around you that you love, because, the saying is full. If your cup isn't full, you can't pour from it. And that's something I'm always trying to remind myself of and show my girls. And it's one thing to talk about that And it's another thing to do it because, of course, along with that and taking care of myself, I get the tears and I get the running to the door and I get the, don't go, mommy, please, not another photo shoot. Are you only taking one picture, mama? So it's, it's easy to talk about it, but that struggle and that hardship of actually going through and doing it, you have to persevere through it sometimes, because even last night, we were together last night, right? And I organized a super impromptu shoot, and I knew I needed that based on the corporate situation that I've been put in this week, which has not been fun. And I needed that to lighten my spirit and to allow me to kind of forget of the terrible things that have been going on. And they're not that terrible, right? We've talked about that as well. They're in the grand scheme of things, it's not a life or death situation, but yeah, being able to just say, mommy will be back, I'll be back. And I came back, much more lighthearted and much more appreciative of what I have and the life that I've been able to kind of navigate and build since creating a family. So yeah, I completely hear that.
And I get it. It's no joke.
No.
So the year that we came home from China, Amelia was 2. I had 35 weddings that summer.
A lot.
And that's ridiculous. Never been that busy in my entire career. And I didn't know that I was going to be going to China. Obviously, I would not have booked all those weddings, but we were in the queue for 10 years. So I couldn't just not doing something in case I got a phone call from the other side of the world.
Right.
So I knew all of those brides before I knew who Amelia was going to be. So we came home from China on April 8th. And my first wedding was the 14th. Wow. And I had 1 or 2 weddings every weekend until December 2nd. And with like 2 weekends, not, sometimes I had a Friday, Saturday. I mean, it was crazy. So I had the screaming, the clutching, the not that your daughters are not experiencing the same trauma in their own bodies, but the quote unquote legitimate abandonment issues that Amelia had encountered. And this was just, we were 10 days in to her feeling a new sense of safety. And then I was walking out the door.
That's hard.
Was awful. It was awful for everybody. It was all like, I would be crying.
Yes.
Then, I would tell, my bride would ask, because she was so excited because I had just come in. She feels bad.
Right.
My employer feels bad. Or, whoever's home with Amelia feels bad. Amelia's throwing her head against the floor. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is happening? It's so terrible. And the social worker, of course, I reached out. I was like, do I need to quit? Like, what do I need to do? And she said, no, you need to model for Amelia that mommy leaves and mommy comes back. Yeah. Mommy leaves and mommy comes back. And that has been, that was our model. And it, there were a few days where there would still be, don't go and run to the door and cry. Right. And then there was, okay, bye, mom.
Right.
Like, oh, and then I was like, oh, well, aren't you sad? Are you like,
aren't you sad?
You cannot win for losing.
Yeah. And look at her now.
Oh my gosh.
She's something, huh?
Oh my gosh.
No, but it's so important. I know that. And I've gotten confirmation of that. And I often hear, and what has been a struggle for me is outside voices telling me, you need to slow down. You need to slow down. I work full time. I do photography on the side, you could say, which some people say, you don't do it on the side. It's a full-blown business.
It is a full-blown business. Congratulations.
Thank you. And it hurts me when people say you need to slow down, because I truly try to make time for the things for me that matter.
Yep.
And yes, I have a job that, puts a roof over my head and maintains a lifestyle that I feel like I've built for myself, which I love. And I do love my job, and I love photography as well, because it allows me to exercise that creative part of my brain. And by making time for that, I'm not only a better mom, but I'm a better, manager. So, so it is important, and making time for it is important. And I think, we're on video right now, and luckily the people listening to this won't be able to see me, but of course things drop, right? I have Mount Laundry waiting for me to fold it. I have unwashed hair of maybe going on 6-7 days. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, and I'm okay with making those sacrifices for now, because I know I won't always have to.
Right. I wondered that when I, again, first became a parent. I wanted to be one forever. 24 Mother's Days passed between me wanting to be a mom and actually getting to be one. And you would think, like, if you knew you had 24 years to prepare, you'd be super, super prepared. But I just didn't know what I didn't know. And I remember asking my mom, well, first she was here for 5 weeks when we came home, and I just spent a lot of time every day saying thank you and I'm sorry to my mother. Like, thank you, and I'm sorry that I was two, that I was whatever. But I would ask her, like, why is it that personal hygiene is the first to go? Like, why is this, like, now all of a sudden I don't shower? And I did have the benefit of more sleep rather than sleep deprivation, because Amelia wasn't available to go to sleep by herself. And so I had big plans, of course, when I lied down with her.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to fall asleep, and then I'll get up and I'll send all the emails and do all. Nope. So I slept like 12 hours a night.
Yeah. You called it a night when she called it a night.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, the personal hygiene.
Yeah.
And then once you get more into a rhythm, they go to school and you can take a shower. It's so glorious.
Exactly.
But then, it's something else. It's something else in your schedule. It's something else that you really have to claim.
Mm-hmm.
And it is hard when people say things that are well-meaning, or are packaged in what would seem to be well-meaning, but are really judgy instead, or whatever. People are going to say what people are going to say. And I love that you have a response, whether you actually say those words to those people or not, as long as you're saying that to yourself and you're just internalizing your resolve. You have checkpoints, you have a beautiful relationship with your husband where you can check in and say, hey, is this working for us? Is this like, I really need my time, my creative time. I really need to wash my hair. I really need to go for a walk, whatever it is that I need. And people are saying this, and I'm feeling this, and how is this working? When you have an outside perspective that's still an inside the circle.
Yeah. It's a really great point too, because, I do have that support system in my husband, and thank God. And he's wonderful for allowing me to kind of explore this side of me that I only recently developed, over the pandemic. So,
are you kidding?
No, I took a photography class in the beginning of 2020 when my daughter turned 1, my first daughter. And it was just so I could take pictures of her. So I just started taking pictures of her. I wanted to be able to do that without having to always pay someone else to do it. Right. So, that went on, and then people started asking me to take their picture. And I was like, are you sure?
Oh my gosh, you're so good. I had no idea.
Really? Thank you. Yeah, no, this is a new area for me. I mean, relatively speaking, it's only been a couple of years. So I I more or less, think of something I want to do, and I just kind of have been doing it. It's a very expensive hobby, Wendy, I'll tell you that.
Ask the girl with the farm.
So, in some regards, like it's this nice circle where I feel like, I have, I work, and part of that money gets put into a side where I can play around with my expensive hobby. So I feel very
you're
fortunate.
investing in your business.
Yeah.
And your employer is your biggest investor. And you can just thank them. But I'm gonna lovingly invite you to not call it a hobby.
I know, I should stop.
You get paid for it. That means it's not a hobby.
I know.
So it's beautiful, and there's ownership with that. And you have the two most darling subjects that live in your house.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, your daughters.
My muses.
They're so lovies.
They're also my worst clients, so I'll say that.
They're very demanding.
Yeah, they have very, very tight stipulations. But no, I think, I'm very thankful for the support I have to be able to explore this kind of when I want to, in my husband and in, close circle of friends, and, of course, a therapist, because we all need that.
Yes.
I need that.
I need that.
So yeah, but I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this life that we moved to Bolton about a year and a half ago, and just being in this town too is beautiful. I mean, I couldn't ask for a more picturesque place to be able to capture kind of what my vision is for families and my family. And so in many ways, I just feel like everything kind of came together, which is, I feel very fortunate for.
Yes, and that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. So your creative vision is so remarkable, even more so now that I know you have not been doing this for 15 years. It's unbelievable. So can you share a little bit about your creative process? So for example, this is not going to be aired for a few weeks, so it won't ruin your surprise. But with the 4th of July coming, you had an idea for a red, white, and blue photo shoot that you put together quickly. I'm not going to say threw together because there's a ton of intention, but you brought it together quickly. But your red is my barn, and your white was this gorgeous classic car, and your blue was this legit floral dress with these poofy sleeves and this flowing skirt that you so graciously let me put on too and took my picture. Because as soon as you sent me that, I was like, I want to wear that dress too.
Yes, and you wore it amazingly.
Oh my gosh, you're so sweet. It was so fun. I didn't even brush my hair, friends, but I'll show you the picture as soon as I see it. That was so fun. So how do you, I'm eager. I have so many questions, obviously. So I would like to know the process of that kind of shoot. And then I would love for you to talk about your, the peony situation.
I don't think anyone's really asked me ever about my process, and I don't know that I fully have it defined, to be honest. So, just so the listeners know, like, I focus mainly on family, but I have this editorial glamour kind of part of photography that like sparks so much joy for me. Like the fanciness of dresses and being extra and capturing it. And I think it's lovely for me. I've always liked designing. I've always enjoyed making things look aesthetically pleasing. And I feel like that element of design, and it's hard for me to even call it design. I'm not trained on any of this. It just kind of happens.
On the job training.
Yeah. So I don't know. And I always have had this, and you can probably tell by looking at some of my photos, but this or what I like to say, vintage kind of aesthetic. So when I see something like a vintage car, they come to me and say, hey, do you shoot at, Neshoba Winery ever? And I'm like, well, actually, that's right up the street. You know, Immediately I'm thinking, what can I do with this car? And my marketing brain in me is saying, what is coming up in the future that I maybe need content for. So, there's a bit of both of that going on. And immediately the light bulbs went off. 4th of July. Okay, I have the white. I know I have a red element with Wendy's friendship at her barn. Let me see what I can find for a blue dress and a pretty girl, and put her in the car, in the dress, in the car, and let's have fun with it. I think we had a little bit more of an extravagant plan for Monday night, but as you know, the weather's been kind of not cooperative for outdoor shoots lately.
Or weddings.
But I visioned to have like a picnic with like a hot dog and a cherry pie and things like that, but that didn't work out. But those little details, aren't always necessary to make the grander vision come true, which we did.
It's just kind of the things that get you started.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, a lot for me, like I do use Pinterest occasionally to like source ideas or just get visuals of what I'm thinking, for sure. But I love looking at photography that's done for like higher end, like fashion sites. So right now on my coffee table is a Monique Lellier coffee table book, and it's just all of these models wearing Monique's dresses in extravagant settings. So I try to surround myself with like what I feel like is extravagant beauty to kind of inspire me.
I love that. And now I'm reminded of that ridiculously gorgeous shoot that you did. I don't know if it was in Newburyport or wherever that place is, with all the nursing mothers.
Yeah. That
was beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you come up with that? Like how, and then did you pull like how does that come together?
So originally, so basically that was a studio in Newburyport, yes. And every 6 or 9 months or so, that studio has like a new installation. And this was a new one that I was invited to shoot at. It's called Cocoon, and I'm sure, maybe some people would have seen it, but it's basically the studio's draped in all of these different fabrics, and it just looks like this beautiful, fluffy, cushioned cocoon. And at this time, the studio was set up with a bed, so I knew I wanted to do something around motherhood. And immediately I went to nursing. That's something that I did with both of my girls for, 8 to 9 months. And, a lot of the moms that I photograph do it as well. I mean, it's very, it's becoming, in the movement, I should say, to have it become more widely accepted to do it in public, and it's, not sexualized. And I think also kind of fueled me to kind of put this out in what I would call, in air quotes, art form. But essentially I put a model call out for once I knew I wanted to do like a nursing shoot for a nursing mother. And I got so many responses. I can't even tell you. So, it was really the people who decided for me, this wasn't going to just be one mother. It was going to be 4. And I was like, how powerful could that be, to just show these 4 mothers of different backgrounds, their babies were all different ages. I think they ranged from like 6 months to 2 years old at the time. Like, how powerful could this be? So yeah, made it happen.
It was powerful. And you put them in these gorgeous, flowy, gauzy, yummy dresses, and in this beautiful setting, and doing this just incredibly intimate, beautiful, innocent act.
Yeah.
It was very I'm going to cry. It was like, I've never nursed a baby, but it was very moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Like, and I just loved them and their boldness and their love for their child and their bodies. And if someone has an issue with looking at this picture, scroll on by, friend, because I'm here and I'm claiming my space and claiming my spot, and I'm freaking gorgeous and I'm a queen and I make life.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was fierce and beautiful, and that was really amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I loved taking a moment to kind of celebrate that part of motherhood because, whether or not you've done it, whether or not you can do it, feeding your baby in the way that you choose to do it is something to celebrate. And we were taking a moment to celebrate that day. So I'm so glad that those photos were so moving to so many people. It was unexpected for me, to be honest. It was.
And it's so I mean, the word primal is coming to my mind, but it's interesting. It's so funny. I don't usually talk this much about when I came home with Amelia, but this is yet another story. So the paperwork that they gave us said that she was abandoned at 7 days old and taken to the orphanage. And I'll do a whole podcast about that story, by the way, friends. So that sounds like a terrible sentence, but it's very common, obviously, happens in China. And where she was abandoned was a place where her super brave mother knew that she would be found quickly and taken care of. And so she was found by a police officer, taken to the orphanage. And then at that point, whatever happens there. And then 2 years later, she gets matched with me and Keith, and we go to China and we get her. And as much as everything is new, right? I was carrying my phone around, and now I'm carrying a 27-pound human who's like in the boba, like she wanted to be on my body all the time, which was so beautiful and fabulous. But the strangest thing would be walking through a hotel lobby with somebody's hand on my breast. Like she just was touching my breast all the time. Like it, and she only had access to that from another person for 7 days. Yeah. And there's just something so innate and connective in that bond that even if you did not get to nurse your child, like you still, it's innate, it's primal, it's beautiful.
It is. And it's that comfort, having that closeness.
Yes.
So yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that because I'm glad it touched so many people in different ways,
It did. It was beautiful. So fun. So what do you have coming up?
Goodness. I don't know.
Isn't that amazing?
We're going on a little family trip to Kennebunkport.
Fun.
Here soon. Yeah. So we'll celebrate some time and disconnect a little bit. Other than that, trying to think, gosh, I'm working with Yvonne at Piper and Cloth. So she recently just handed me a gigantic bag of clothing to kind of photograph, which I love because I feel like her clothes really represent or fit and complement my style of photography really well and capture kind of like childhood and the innocence of it there. So I'm excited for that. I will probably be photographing the girls in that next week.
Oh, that'll be amazing. I'm going to interview her for the podcast as well. And just so our listeners know, she's the fabulous queen that is teaching Amelia to sew. And what a delightful human she is. But she was looking at Amelia's sketches before she came to do her sewing lessons and said, oh gosh, okay, I need to bring my A game. And then 5 minutes into the sewing lesson, she came to tell me, she was like, Amelia is a seamstress that just hasn't learned to sew yet. Like this is inside of her. And she made, I'm going to show you. Sorry, listeners. She made this beautiful skirt out of the Tenge fabric I brought home from Kenya. And then she made a cape skirt.
I think I saw her in that the other day.
Yes. Elamu Girls posted it to their Instagram. So she made this cape that goes around your waist, a skirt with a button, and you can wear cute shorts underneath it. And then if you get cold, you just unbutton it and then put it around your neck, and it's also a cape. I was like,
yes,
what is happening? It's so amazing. So
there's something about people who can bring out that spark in someone else, and Yvonne is definitely one of those people.
She is, and she does it for herself, and then she does it this way and in the direction of you, because your darling girls are wearing her darling clothes, and then you're able to capture these beautiful images that are just joy and childhood, like you said.
Yeah, and that was they were wearing Piper and cloth for the peonies that I did, which you mentioned. So
yes, how did you come up with that dreamy idea?
Well, we all love peonies around here, right? So like they're just these, I always envision them as like these cloud like flowers. So I had these like empty actually, I found them on Facebook Marketplace, which is also a source of inspiration for me, because oftentimes people are getting rid of junk and I see something different in it. And it was these metal antique or vintage milk crates. So, they're all wired and they have holes that just seem perfect for beautiful, voluptuous flowers to fit into. So, I took a stab at like arranging the peonies on several stacked milk crates to make it look like almost like a peony cloud growing out of it, and having the girls pose around it. So that was super fun and something I have never done before, and it felt good. I was super proud of it.
I was proud of it. It was so beautiful. You did a great job.
Thank you. How many peonies was that? 150 or
peonies.
Something?
And FYI, I still have about, 300 peonies. I know we can do more fun things. It's all just so beautiful. And I love the way that you see things. I love the way that you see my house and my space in ways that I don't see it. Like you'll tag me in an Instagram story, and I'm like, oh, I know where that is. I live there, and it never looks like that to my eye.
I love your house and your property so much because there's so many nooks and crannies that I can play with, especially with, little people who are figuring out and curious and get to explore. And I'm sure you lived a lot of that through Amelia's eyes too, as she was, coming into her 9 years. But yeah, I like I said to you last night, I think sometimes I'm more familiar with your property than my own.
Love that. Have the girls discovered the fairy houses yet?
We have it on our list to do this summer to create a fairy house.
Have you seen the fairy houses that are here?
Oh,
okay.
We might be making a trip.
Very should. I'll have Amelia make sure that they're well, but yeah, come over. So when I used to do a kids' nature camp here, there's this great tree, and the way the roots are, it made essentially a condominium complex for fairies. So there are 10 different segments that can hold a little fairy house all at the base of one tree. And they've made arches and it's beautiful. So it's just right along the driveway. So come on over.
I have to check that out and pay better attention to that next time, because Collins is definitely in that phase of fairies, unicorns, princesses. Brilliant. It's a lot of fun.
Brilliant. Yeah. And I'll make her a flower crown because I just learned how to do that for the white party.
I know. I saw that. That looked like a blast. I'm gonna plan on attending the September
Yay!
one.
So excited. You heard it here, everybody. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, sweet friend. I treasure you. I love that you're right down the street and that you know that you can ask me anytime if you can be here. And it makes me so happy that you believed me when I said, assume the yes.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for making my yeses come to fruition.
My life's work.
Thank you, Wendy, for having me.
Of course. Please tell everyone where they can find and follow you and look at all of your beautiful work.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, Lindsay Burgess Photography. That's the primary spot where you can find me.
All right. Well, we'll link it in the show notes and all of that good stuff. And I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Thank you. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. As always, any links or notes mentioned can be found at phineaswrighthouse.com in the podcast section of our site or in the show notes below. And if you haven't connected with me personally, come find me on Instagram at Phineas Wright House and let me know you listened to this episode. I'd love to get to know you. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know your days are full, and I'm really grateful that you chose to spend some of your precious time right here. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any of these delightful conversations. I'll see you next week.